Let's talk about this. Joining us right now is Marc, the former chief of staff to Vice President Mike Pence, and so much more. And Democratic strategist Megan Hayes, and so much more. Thanks for being here, guys. Megan, if 2024 was not a wake-up call, as Isaac was saying, this one should be. What is the lesson here? What's the Mamdani message, if you will, for the Democratic Party, do you see?
That Democrats across the country want new and different leadership. They want someone younger. They want someone who's authentic. They want someone who's going to take a stand and use their voice. They may not agree with his policies. His policies are not going to work in places like Pennsylvania or Michigan or Wisconsin. But you know what? At least he's standing on principle. He's standing for what he believes, and he's standing for something different. You don't have any question of where he stands, and I think Democrats are looking for that strength.
What does Mamdani mean for the Republican Party, Marc?
Well, I don't doubt the Democrats looking for a new generation of leaders, but I don't know if that means embracing somebody who has more or less embraced the Columbia riots against Jewish students and has said he doesn't believe that Israel has a right to exist. So I think that creates a lot of openings for Republicans, Kate, and I think they'll try to lift him up. I think, there's a lot around this election. There, he was running against a candidate in Cuomo who probably was a pretty flawed candidate. So whether or not this is where the whole Democrat Party is going, I don't know. But I certainly think you'll see Republicans lift him up, because then Democrat leaders have to say either, yes, I stand with him, or no, I don't. And if they don't, it creates division in the Democrat Party. If he does, then you can tag him and say they support these policies too.
I'll play devil's advocate for, grab if you will, on this one. Often when we talk about, let's just throw in like a special election, guys. Whenever we bring up a special election, I get a very smart Marc Short and I get a very smart Megan Hayes say, you can't really extrapolate too much to broader races and the broader party of this and that on one special election race. Why are neither of you saying that here, Marc?
Well, I would tell you that I still think the midterms will be a referendum on Republicans. I still think that's the case, Kate. If you have Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House, that's what voters are going to be voting on. Having said that, I still think that this particular radical candidate creates a challenge for Democrats about whether they defend his policies or not. And I think it does create an opening for Republicans in the national conversation. But I'm not sure it's going to carry until the fall of 2026.
Do you agree, Megan?
I don't disagree, but I also think that we as a party don't have to just fall in line with everything.
Do you agree? I don't disagree. I'm going to use that forever.
But, Democrats don't need to fall in line like Republicans do. It's okay to have differences with people who are running for office. And again, what works in New York City, people understand that's not going to work perhaps in Scranton, Pennsylvania. So I think that Democrats are being very open here and very honest that maybe his policies aren't going to work, and they don't believe that, but they do believe his campaign and the way he was campaigning and the method in which he was doing it will work for Democrats. And so I think that two things can be true here.
What? That's not allowed on TV. Marc, let's lean on your many years of experience, you old man, of being a liaison on Capitol Hill and trying to push the Trump agenda from the first term over the line when it came to legislative affairs. Why is the tax and spending bill, if at least politically, seem a hot mess right now?
I think it's one giant bill. I think that's part of the challenge, Kate, is when you have something that is really the vehicle for this year, then you're going to have a lot of issues that are intertwined in it. You have immigration and border funding. You have, obviously, Medicaid programs, and you have the tax extension. I think ultimately the prospect of a $4.5 trillion tax increase and $2,100 tax increase on working families is something that's going to unite Republicans. And so I think that some of this is the way that any big bill works its way out. And I think that it still continues to inch forward.
You think Thune's line, I think it was yesterday, in the end, you're not going to let the enemy, the perfect be the enemy of the good, will win out in the end on this?
I think there's only one Republican senator who's stated he's against it, and Rand Paul. And I think, candidly, that's on principle. He said he doesn't support raising the debt limit $5 trillion in this bill. But others are still negotiating. And so I think, again, the reality of the prospect of Republicans are not going to see a massive tax increase. And so they're going to be supporting the bill in the end.
Megan, I'm wondering, from a Democratic perspective, is there more opportunity here for Democrats to, let's just say, as it works its way in the Senate and then makes its way back over to the House, and they got to figure that out then, and that's no small feat. Is there more opportunity in seeing if you can get things for your district in this bill and make it the best you can for your district, or in just sitting back for Democrats politically and watching Republicans struggle to fight over this?
Well, I think that Democrats have really owned the messaging on this, right? Most of the American people do not agree with this bill. The polling is showing that. Focus groups are showing that. And so I think, nobody wants to be cutting Medicare and Medicaid and food assistance programs for children at the benefit of rich people and billionaires getting tax cuts. So I think that they have won the messaging war. But I think that Democrats are really smart to fight for what they can in this bill. And then they're going to make Republicans take hard votes on this. Those hard votes are going to impact the 26 election, and it will also impact the 28 election. And Democrats are not dumb in this, and they are playing their politics correctly, and they have been unified, which is not something you always see with Democrats from the beginning on this bill.
That's a good point. Not something you often see. Real quick. There is a history of President Trump claiming victory when it comes to legislative achievements before it has occurred. What's happening this afternoon is slightly different, right? He's holding an event at the White House to rally support and pressure senators and Republicans that might be holdouts to get on board. Do you think it's a smart move on the part of the White House to be doing this today? I
do. I think the reality is that for reluctant Republicans, they need to know where the president is on this, and he's going to go to battle over this bill. And I think that there's still a lot of fear in Republican politics about the president primarying anybody who goes against his agenda. And so, yeah, I think that it's going to need his pressure campaign at the end to get it across the line.
And we shall see part of it play out very shortly. It's good to see you guys. Great. Thank you so much. Sarah.